Jeff Chandler. To audiences of the 1950s, his name conjured images of towering masculinity, silver gray hair that seemed prematurely wise, and a baritone voice that rolled across cinema screens with magnetic authority. He was the kind of actor who could stand in silence and still fill the room with presence. But behind the carefully sculpted image, behind the roles that won him legions of admirers, there was a man caught in the machinery of Hollywood. And in the end, a tragedy that revealed just how fragile even the brightest stars could be. Born Ira Grossel on December 15, 1918, in Brooklyn, New York, Jeff Chandler did not come from privilege. His parents were working-class Jews, raising a son during the hard shadows of the Great Depression. It was an upbringing built on resilience, grit, and an unshakable determination to carve something better out of life. Chandler's artistic leanings surfaced early. While other boys chased games in the street, young Ira found himself drawn to storytelling, performance, and the rhythm of radio dramas. After graduating from Erasmus Hall High School, he honed his craft at the Fegan School of Dramatic Art in New York City, one of the few spaces where working-class dreamers could prepare themselves for the bright lights of the stage. The journey wasn't glamorous. Chandler toiled in stock theater and radio, slowly grinding his way forward. Every performance was a lesson. Every rejection was fuel. Then, like so many men of his generation, his dreams were put on hold by the call of war. World War II pulled Chandler into service, and he was stationed in the frigid Aleutian Islands with the U.S. Army. There, amid the harsh winds and relentless cold, he learned discipline, endurance, and the kind of stoicism that would later define many of his on-screen heroes. When the war ended, Chandler came home to a country that was changing, and to an entertainment industry hungry for new faces. His voice, resonant and commanding, found its place in radio dramas. Audiences couldn't forget that deep baritone, and soon enough, it carried him beyond radio booths and into Hollywood soundstages. His first major break arrived in 1948, playing a gangster in Johnny O'Clock. But it was Broken Arrow in 1950 that transformed Jeff Chandler from a name on a poster into a bona fide star. As Cochise, the Apache leader, Chandler delivered a performance that was both dignified and deeply human, a rarity in an era when Native American characters were so often reduced to stereotypes. That performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. In the rigid racial climate of mid-century Hollywood, it was nothing short of groundbreaking. Chandler's Cochise wasn't a caricature. He was a man of honor, complexity, and strength. Audiences saw it. Critics applauded it. And suddenly, Jeff Chandler was not just an actor. He was a symbol of how far Hollywood could go, even if only briefly, in breaking down old prejudices. Over the next decade, Chandler became one of Universal Pictures' most bankable leading men. He strode across adventure films like Smuggler's Island, 1951, war dramas like Merrill's Marauders, 1958, and westerns such as The Jayhawkers, 1959. He played soldiers, outlaws, leaders, and lovers, always with that distinctive mix of stoic exterior and emotional depth that made him unforgettable. Alongside stars like Jane Russell, Maureen O'Hara, and Rhonda Fleming, Chandler embodied the rugged, noble masculinity that defined post-war Hollywood's golden years. But there was another side to Jeff Chandler, one the public rarely saw. He was also a singer, releasing albums of romantic ballads throughout the 1950s. His smooth baritone, softened for love songs, stood in stark contrast to the tough, granite-hewn characters he played on screen. Tracks like I Should Care and All I Do Is Dream of You revealed a vulnerability that fans found captivating. Yet, the music career never reached the heights of his film stardom. Hollywood wanted Jeff Chandler the hero, not Jeff Chandler the crooner. Still, Chandler pushed for more control. He founded his own production company, an audacious move in an industry where most actors were expected to be obedient soldiers in the studio system. He wanted a voice in shaping the narratives he appeared in, a say in what stories were told. It spoke to his ambition, but it also hinted at a restlessness, a man who could never be fully satisfied with simply being a face on the screen. By the mid-1950s, his personal life seemed, at least outwardly, to match the Hollywood dream. In 1946, he married actress Marjorie Hoschel. They were a striking pair, their photographs splashed across magazines, the silver-haired leading man and the glamorous actress turned mother. Together, they had two daughters, Jamie and Dana. To the outside world, it looked like a storybook. Fame, fortune, family. Chandler seemed to have it all. But inside the marriage, shadows grew. The grueling demands of his career left him drained, often to the point where Hoschel described him as chronically exhausted, falling asleep in public, or fading out at social gatherings. He was a man consumed by work, unable to switch off even in the safety of his home. The marriage faltered, split apart, then reconciled, only to splinter again. By the late 1950s, Chandler was entangled in affairs, most notably with Esther Williams, the dazzling swimmer-turned-actress. It was a relationship that would not only become tabloid fodder, but, decades later, ignite controversy when Williams published her autobiography, The $1 Million Mermaid, claiming that Chandler had confessed to cross-dressing. The allegation was explosive, shattering the carefully guarded image of one of Hollywood's most masculine stars. Some colleagues dismissed the story outright. Jane Russell famously remarked that such a thing was unthinkable of Chandler. But the rumor was enough to forever alter the way people whispered about him. Still, through scandal and strain, Chandler's star power endured. He remained one of Universal's most reliable box office draws. But behind the handsome face and steady voice, cracks were deepening. His health was faltering. His energy waned. And within a few short years, Jeff Chandler would be gone, dead at just 42, under circumstances that left fans baffled, friends suspicious, and investigators chasing whispers for decades. The mystery of Jeff Chandler's death would not simply be a tragic Hollywood tale. It would become a symbol of negligence, secrecy, and the chilling way an industry could protect itself at the expense of truth. And as we peel back the layers, what emerges isn't just a story about one man. It's about the system around him and the silence that followed him into the grave. Jeff Chandler's public life was one of applause, premieres, and magazine covers. But off-screen, his reality was far more turbulent. Hollywood often likes to present its leading men as untouchable, unbothered by exhaustion, immune to scandal, pillars of family life. Chandler, however, was proof that even the brightest stars carried invisible burdens. His marriage to Marjorie Hoschel had started with promise, but by the early 1950s, the cracks were visible to anyone who dared look closely. They separated in 1951, then reunited, only to fracture again 3 years later. By 1954, Hoschel filed for divorce, citing a breakdown of the marriage. What she revealed in court was startling, painting a picture of a man consumed not by vice or cruelty, but by sheer fatigue. She described Chandler as chronically exhausted, a husband who would nod off in restaurants, at parties, and even in conversations. It was like he wasn't there, she reportedly told friends. His physical presence was undeniable, tall, broad-shouldered, with that striking prematurely gray hair, but his mental and emotional presence was vanishing. Stardom had drained him, turning a once vibrant husband into a shadow of himself. When they reconciled in 1955, there was hope. Chandler was still at the peak of his career, one of Universal's most bankable stars. But Hollywood doesn't allow its players to rest for long. Long shoots, publicity tours, and relentless studio schedules left little time for family. And when Chandler sought relief, it often came not from rest, but from distractions. During the filming of Raw Wind in Eden in 1957, Chandler began a high-profile affair with Esther Williams, one of MGM's most glamorous swimming stars. Their romance was front-page news, the kind of Hollywood love story the tabloids thrived on. But behind the glitz, the affair was the final blow to his already fragile marriage. Hochel filed for divorce again, this time for good. The proceedings laid bare Chandler's financial world. Under oath, he revealed earnings that stunned many at the time. In 1957, Universal paid him $60,000 per film, equivalent to well over $500,000 in today's money. By 1958, that figure had climbed to $75,000 per film. In total, he earned $250,000 in 1957 alone, thanks to movies, singing engagements, and appearances. Yet wealth in Hollywood was rarely simple. Chandler explained that managers, agents, and business representatives claimed nearly a quarter of his income. Add to that lifestyle costs, family responsibilities, and investments, and the fortune seemed to drain quickly. Still, the courts required him to provide generously. Temporary support was set at $1,500 per month for Hochel, while the final settlement in 1959 ordered him to pay $2,166 in monthly alimony, plus $500 in child support. On top of that, he delivered a lump sum payment of $100,000. The sums, even by Hollywood standards, were steep, proof of how much Chandler's work had produced and how much of it slipped away under legal obligations. Hochel later remarked that her husband's obsession with career had eclipsed everything else. "He spent all his time in the office," she said. "Even when he wasn't filming, it was business, business, business." Her own health faltered under the strain. She developed ulcers during their marriage, a physical mark of years spent in emotional battle. After the divorce, Chandler remained in the public eye, his romances tracked like box office returns. Confidential magazine, notorious for scandal-mongering, exposed his affair with actress Gloria DeHaven. A private investigator even testified that he had been hired to trail them, proof of how far the tabloids would go to sell a story. Other rumored relationships included Ann Sheridan and, of course, Esther Williams, whose autobiography decades later would ignite one of the strangest controversies of Chandler's legacy. In The $1,000,000 Mermaid, published in 1999, Williams claimed that their romance ended when Chandler revealed he enjoyed cross-dressing. The revelation shocked readers and sent gossip columns into overdrive. But Chandler's friends furiously denied it. Jane Russell, one of his closest confidants, dismissed the idea outright. "Cross-dressing is the last thing I'd expect of Jeff. He was a sweet guy, definitely all man." Others echoed her disbelief, insisting Williams had either misinterpreted something or exaggerated. And yet, the allegation lingered, sticking to Chandler's memory in ways that facts often cannot undo. His masculine persona, carved from roles as warriors, leaders, and rugged heroes, suddenly clashed with the image painted by Williams, leaving fans unsettled. For Chandler, however, the immediate reality wasn't reputation. It was exhaustion. Friends recalled that he was working harder than ever in the late 1950s, juggling films, personal appearances, and business ventures. His relentless schedule left him with chronic pain, particularly in his back. By 1961, he faced a medical problem too severe to ignore: a slipped disc. The surgery, routine, by the standards of the day, was meant to relieve the pain and restore his energy. But what should have been a path to healing became the beginning of a nightmare. On June 17, 1961, Jeff Chandler entered Cedars of Lebanon Hospital in Los Angeles. He was 42 years old. Within weeks, he would be dead. The official story was simple: complications from surgery, a blood infection, the doctor said, an unfortunate turn of fate. But to those who knew him, his ex-wife, his daughters, his colleagues, the explanation never sat right. How could a healthy, strong man deteriorate so quickly under professional medical care? Rumors began almost immediately. Whispers of botched procedures, overlooked allergies, and panicked